In Madrid, Juan is a ferociously bright 8-year-old boy who loves to tell stories. He tells his mother, Luisa, the story of a shadow monster. Luisa asks him to sleep, but Juan wants to finish his story. After taking him to his room, Luisa tells him the story of a tailor whose boy cut the monster. Luisa closes the window and Juan asks her not to do as his kitty outside. Before leaving, Luisa asks him not to see monster dreams. As the night passes, Juan wakes up after hearing Kitty's voice. He goes out from the window to get back his cat. He sees the man in a red hoodie and hides, but the man turns out to be the shadow monster and goes inside the house. Juan slowly walks into the house and hears his mother choking. Inside the room, the monster strangles his mother and Juan shouts at him to leave his mother. The monster goes towards him and covers his mouth with his hands, but Juan pushes him away and runs out. Juan reaches the balcony and the monster catches him. Juan's push causes the monster to slip and fall, but before Juan can run away, he catches him by the legs. Luisa pulls Juan to her side to save him from the monster, and then Juan wakes up screaming. Luisa comes and tells him the dream is over, but Juan says that the monster came through the window. Luisa says it's just a dream, and Juan tells her the monster had no face and wanted to take me away. Luisa says that if the monster comes again, close your eyes and count to 5 and he will run away. The scene opens in London. We see construction worker John and his co-worker talking about the girls. His friend says that we should have fun with other girls besides our wives. John laughs and says, I'm very happy with my family, and asks him to stay away from this. After this, we see John's wife Susanna, his daughter Mia, and his father. Mia talks to her father, who says I will be late, and gets angry and gives the phone to her mother. Mia sees the cat jumping over the wall and goes to get her back. The cat is on the tree and Mia climbs to catch her. Mia notices a hole in the tree, and as she puts her hand inside, her bracelet falls in, and she finds an old wooden box. Opening the box, she finds a note and reads, which says the hollow face woke up because someone called his name. He wasn't young or old, or ugly or handsome, he didn't even have a face. The monster hunts to get his face, and one day, he finds a boy to steal his face. Mia reads this story in class, saying the monster took that boy to his place, he ripped off his face and wore it himself. The story is incomplete, but Mia's teacher praises her and tells her to finish the story by Monday. After the class, she invites her friend to her birthday party and leaves. John returns home, and after kissing her wife, he wishes Mia and gives her the present. She isn't happy to see a teddy bear, but becomes glad to get a PlayStation from her mother. John says that this teddy bear is 50 years old antique, to which Mia falsely praises his gift. Then they all celebrate Mia's birthday, and during the night Mia starts writing that story. After returning from the darkness, the monster sees the modern world, but he only wants to retrieve a face. He looked everywhere, in every window, until he found a house with a girl inside. He forgot the boys and fell in love with her beauty, so he crept closer and hid in the corner of her room. Mia is shocked to hear the creepy noise. While her parents are making love, Mia comes to their room. Susanna asks her to leave, and John says it's birthday night and goes for her. He asks Mia about the problem, and she gets scared looking into the corner. John puts her on the bed, turns off the light, and leaves while Mia is very scared. While Juan is sleeping, suddenly blood drop falls on his face. Then he goes to his mother, and she gets scared seeing him. Luisa goes to the church with her son and meets with Father Antonio after the prayer. Father asks her about the matter, and Luisa, scared to talk, leaves. John and Frank are working, and John goes down telling him to finish the work. As a bolt falls, and as Frank tries to take another one, he slips and hangs with the tower. John rushes to save him and holds his hand, but unfortunately, Frank falls and dies. John is shocked by this and has a vision when he is saving Frank from falling, but his mouth has been erased. Mia awakens and goes in front of the mirror. Her face is erased, and she smiles, applying lipstick. She comes to John and tells him that she had a nightmare. John hugs her and asks her to go back to sleep, but she says there's a hollow face in her room. John takes her to an old cabin where he reads her an old story and uses a coat, shoes, and a football to make a hollow face. He hangs it in the garden, spills gasoline on it, and burns it, telling Mia that the monster will never come back. Susanna throws water on it and angrily sends Mia back to her room and asks John to throw it outside. After throwing it, John feels someone's presence, but there's no one. Juan closes the window to avoid the monster and looks under the bed, only to find no one. Suddenly, the monster appears and tries to possess him. Hearing his screams, Luisa comes into the room and calms him, saying that it was just a bad dream. The next day, Antonio comes to their house and questions Juan about the monster. At first, Juan tells him to leave, but then he tells him that the monster has no face. Antonio gets nervous hearing this and says, I can't help you, and leaves. John walks out of his room and sees Mia repeatedly turning the light on and off, and goes into her room. Mia points to the corner and John tells her there is no one there. He goes and turns on the wardrobe light and the monster is hiding there. Fights him, but the monster pushes him away and catches Mia. John asks him not to harm her, but the monster takes her voice and escapes. John follows him for a long distance but doesn't see anyone, after which he tells the whole situation to the police. John reassures his daughter that the thief will not come here anymore, but Mia looks at the window in fear. He asks Susanna if has she said anything, to which she says Mia is terrified. John tries to make her easy but she isn't able to speak because the monster has taken away her voice. On the other hand, the monster goes to snatch Juan's face again but is saved by his mother. The next day, the senior father goes to see Juan but says nothing to Luisa and leaves. Father says to Antonio that he thinks Luisa and Juan have a psychological issue. Antonio wants him to do a fake exorcism so that they can be sure that the monster will not come back. Father refuses to do this after listening to him and advises him to stay away from such activities. Rachel, a child psychologist, asks Mia about the incident and she writes her about the monster. Rachel tells her parents that the reason Mia's not talking is because of her reaction to the accident. Rachel says that she needs therapy sessions until she can come out from the trauma. John becomes security obsessed in a bid to protect her, installing cameras and surveillance equipment at their home. Antonio meets Juan at the park, and Luisa takes him after seeing a man in a hoodie. While Antonio watches the whole scene as a girl comes to kiss that man. Mia continues writing the monster's story while the monster is still inside her room. John sees Mia on the CCTV and runs to her room. He again fights with the vicious intruder intent on snatching a traumatized Mia. At the hospital, the detective asks John about the intruder and says it is like he is deformed. The detective gets worried and says they will send a team to check the footage. Luisa takes Juan to Antonio for exorcism. Antonio starts praying and suddenly, Juan and Luisa are shocked to see the monster. Antonio sees nothing but a statue there and Luisa tells him you can't help us and leaves. She comes home, packs her things, and leaves town with her son. Rachel tells John your wife tells us about the incident with your friend and you are facing that trauma. John gets angry to listen to her and after checking the footage, there's no sign of a prowler. John says I've seen it there myself and Rachel says that people often experience hallucinations due to lack of sleep. They decide that John and Mia will be separated from each other for a while. Mia, too, becomes convinced that her story has crossed over from the realms of imagination into reality. John returns to the house to check Mia's room and hears Susanna talking with the detective. After that, Mia comes to her room and writes "Leave us alone" on the paper and throws it in her wardrobe. John reads the note and sets out to find someone for help. Luisa takes Juan to her husband's house and at night, Juan is scared again but no one goes to help him. He covers his face with a cloth and writes a prayer, after hearing which the monster disappears from there. Juan tears up the paper, seals it in a small wooden box, and throws it into a hole in a tree. John comes to the same tree and checks the hole. He finds Mia's bracelet. It's his mother's house and Juan is John. After this, John confronts his mother and tells her the hollow face returned and trying to possess his daughter. Luisa says you have to go to Mia and fight the monster or he will steal her face. John arrives home and Mia is now fully possessed by the monster, who takes her into the darkness. John tells her to fight the monster, and then the scene comes as Luisa rescues Juan. Monster's hand slips and he falls to the ground and Mia regains consciousness. In the end, Hollowface is running to save himself but his body disappears. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing videos.